And I want to give a personal thank you to Jake, because the reason that we were able to be here on Friday is because he was leading the charge on Walker down in Austin. So, yeah, picked up the slack.
Yeah, not all heroes wear capes. Just plaid.
Just plaid. Furthermore, I'd like to assure Keegan, it was in his contract, he has to do a striptease on stage to get him
Thank you, Keegan!
So you will be invited back if we go for season 4.
Thank you. I get to keep my job. Thank you.
It was contingent. The one, the only Mitch Pileggi. And the beautiful, preeminent Genevieve. Who hasn't been able to meet Jen yet? I mean, in general, before this con. All right. Yeah. Better in person. And thank you, Briar. She's been a champion of all the things that I kind of love and have been a part of, and I'm super grateful. And I do find myself reading her stuff when I probably should be sleeping, so it's your fault too. So I'm angry with you. But I don't want to waste any more time. Yeah, that's why Jen's like, why are you on your phone? I'm like, nothing. Is it nerd to be on again? No. Yeah, reading that too. But anyways, happy third day. And I would love to send over to our very, very qualified and competent moderator, Ms. Brown.
So, Jared, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Walker's the first show you produced, and now you're producing the prequel, Walker Independence. So, what is something you love or something that's challenging about being a producer?
What's funny is that I've said this for a while, and I think a lot of people out there know that I've kind of been mentioning for many years that I'm more excited about the producing side, or what I thought was the producing side. That hasn't changed. I love the puzzle. I love putting together the Legos. And I was always kind of the kid, I don't know if anybody else is out there, that I would go through Legos or go through a puzzle, and then once it was built, I would just destroy it. They're like, all right, my work here is done. I wouldn't sit there and stare at it. I just love, and my lovely wife can vouch, I wake up early and kind of just get to work on the script and watch casting videos and watch the edits and try and figure out where the storylines can go. And so doing that both on Walker and now on Walker Independence, it's kind of like, the irony is that during Supernatural, I was like, well, I want to be at home, I want to work less. Yeah, so now I'm home and, I'm doing work I love, work I'm proud of, and then I get home at like 5 or 6 and I'm exhausted. And in Vancouver, if I got home at 5 or 6 and was exhausted, I would call Jen and the kids, like, hey, love y'all, miss y'all, I'm going to bed. And I'd be in bed by like 6 p.m. But now it's like, dad, honey, homework. And then so, not a whole lot of time. Sports. So a lot of us up here have kids. Keegan, I don't know what he ever complains about.
My cat.
Is that a euphemism? Sorry.
I gotta touch that one.
Mitch.
Teasing. We're all working very hard, but I'm really loving the behind the scenes part of it.
So, Jen, what has it been like working with Jared again? And then has there been anything challenging doing some of those really difficult scenes like Cordell's kidnapping, Emily's murder? What's that kind of like for you?
Wow, good morning.
I feel like this is therapy. There's nothing more, Sorry, I feel like there's an echo. There's nothing more beautiful and special than watching your partner and people that you love like thrive at what they do. So I get to watch it from the sidelines often, and then when I get to show up in the game and like watch and be a teammate, there's like nothing that I find more romantic and sexy. So I really enjoy it.
Which is great because she's like, you turn me on. I'm like, I'm on set.
I'm working. I give him the wink from like.
She's winking at me at like 5 p.m. on set, and then she's wrapped, and I get home at 9, and all I hear from the bedroom is.
I don't think so. That's not accurate. Therapist, I don't know. But no, it's really special. I will say, you know, it is challenging at times because we obviously live together and then we do work together. Our baseline and how we met was working together, so I will say that's almost our first relationship and our best relationship at times.
Whoa.
But it is challenging. It's hard not to bring some of those emotional scenes home, like Emily's death and having to confront that, and it's actually your wife, but it's my wife playing, you know. And also watching Jared get tortured, and I have, and Jared will attest to this, but I have a very odd sense of humor, and when I'm uncomfortable, I like laugh hysterically. And so he's like getting tortured, and I'm like, ha 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 ha.
And I'm like, hey, can she go back to her trailer?
He's crying, like, why are you laughing when I'm like being injured? But no, it's I feel really, there's not a day that goes by that I don't feel incredibly grateful when I get those opportunities to be able to not only, you know, wake up and go to bed together and have our beautiful family, but to be able to work on projects that, you know, we met because we were both actors on an amazing TV show, which I'm sure you all are very familiar with. I'm so grateful for that experience, which has led us here, and I'm so grateful. And that's probably very sappy, but I just feel very lucky. Yeah.
So, Mitch,
Yes, ma'am.
one of the things that fans love most is seeing the story between you and Abby, played by the wonderful Molly Hagan. So, what is something that you love about their relationship and also getting to work with Molly?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say, I said to somebody the other day that the day that I met Jared Padalecki was the best day of my life. And I have to edit that a little bit because if I'm going back to my wife and daughter, and they're not going to be terribly happy. No, they would be very happy about it. But the day that I met Jared Padalecki was one of the most important and best days of my life. And that's straight from my heart, and I mean it 100%. But Molly damn Hagan. Holy moly. I think that, you know, and I tell Molly this all the time, I'm the luckiest man in the business to be able to stand across from her. You know, it's so funny because when I first met Molly, we were, you know, I said, you want to go grab something to eat? And we had just gotten tested. We were at the production offices, and she had her mask on, and she at that time she was like very, she wasn't taking that mask off. And I said, you want to grab something to eat? And she was like, oh, well. So I talked her into it, and we did. We went and got something to eat, and I at the time I didn't know what I was in for, and man, what came was, she's a hurricane, and in the best way, and I adore her. What you're seeing on screen, we live in our life. I love her to death. She loves me. This whole cast. I've been doing it. These guys have heard this so many times, but I've been doing this for over 40 years. This is the best cast, best crew, best show that I've ever been on. And I got a little bit of a resume to stack that up against, and it's amazing. And I truly mean that Jared is such a huge part of my life, and to now become part of the Padalecki, family. They took us in when we had a big freeze down in Texas. They had 15 people from the show living in their house, 15 people and 5 dogs. And they fed us, they kept us warm, and they took the best care of us. It was. I would have froze to death in my house if it hadn't been for them. They sent Cliff over and they said, "Go get Mitch." And I called Molly up and I said, "Molly, they're coming to get us." She goes, "Thank God." But Molly is well, I just look in her face and when we're doing a scene and there's so much going on and it's glorious. It's absolutely glorious. So I will tell her that. Yeah.
Quick,
Oh, hello! Hello!
Hey,
Does that come in?
you're approximately 100.
you're next.
Yeah,
You're next. Yeah,
you're approximately 150 years too late for a Walker panel. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark fucking Shepard. Perfect. Love you, Mark. We will, brother.
Bye, Mark!
Funny, I may have told this story, I may not have. I told Mitch, but Mitch was the first ever person cast on Walker. I mean, other than, I guess we were developing it. And when Anna Fricke and we were talking about the show and the character, and does Walker have a brother or a sister? Is he married or a bachelor or a widower or whatever, or a widow rather? We start putting together an idea. Like, okay, how about he's from this family of ranchers, and the dad is this, and the mom is that, and he has a brother, and he's a parent, and maybe his wife. We'll play with that, see what's going on. And once the first kind of stage of creating a television show, you come up with kind of like a 2-page prosaic, like, here's what the show is going to be about. Here are issues we intend to tackle. Here is the character. Here are all of the characters. And once the character of Bonham Walker was written, I called Anna and went, "Hey, Bonham Walker, Mitch Pileggi, it's done." And she was like, "Well, that sounds fucking awesome, but is he willing to do it?" And so I reached out to Mitch because I don't know if he's on another show or if he's just going like, "I'm gonna hang with my wife and daughter," or whatever. And so I forget the exact conversation, but it was something like, "Hey, Mitch, down in Austin, doing this new show, we're gonna start. This is pre-pandemic, and I can't help but think that you're perfect for. I'll do it.
Where do you want me? Where do I go?
When do I fly out?" And so from day one, he became. Even before contracts were done, I was like, Mitch said he was going to do it, and I know Mitch, and if he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. And so from then on out, it was like, Cordell Walker, Jared Padalecki. And his dad, Bonham Walker, Mitch Pileggi, and so that was fun. And then, so really quickly, the Jen story, we were on our 10-year anniversary, we were in Park City, and we had snuck away from the kids. It was February 27th, 2020, 2 weeks before pandemic, and we're at dinner, and I get a text from Anna, and it's like, "Hey, I need you to call me when you can." And usually it's like, "Hey, if you get a chance tomorrow," or like, "When you get a chance." But it seemed more urgent, and so I kind of, my phone buzzes, and we're at dinner, and I'm like, "Hey, Anna wants me to call," and we were like, dinner was ending, so we were tabbing out, and so I was like, "Just give me a second, I'll call her." And so I walk out to the street, and I call Anna, I'm like, "Hey, everything all right?" Like, what's like, I'm thinking it's like the studio says this, or the network says that, and she's like, "Hey, Emily Walker, I wrote it for Jen, do you think she'd be interested?" And I was like, "Well, yeah," and by this time we have the script.
He's looking really awkward at me, like.
Well, yeah, and she's kind of like, yeah. And she's looking at me like, "Oh shit, we thought we had another job, but did we just spend too much money on dinner?" And so I'm like, "Well, I don't speak for her, but I'll certainly ask her." And so hang up and bye, hope everything's well. And then we start walking back to our hotel, and it's beautiful and snowy and like peaceful and quiet. I'm like, "Hey, so Anna, she wants to know if you'll be Emily." And she started crying. She was like, really, of course, of course. And so that's how she happened. And I'll get into Keegan and Jake after we talk with Keegan and Jake, but it was fun time. Yeah.
You get never mind. I'm not gonna touch that one either.
So, Jared and Keegan, I wanted to talk about this because the last few episodes have placed a really important focus on the mental health of characters after Cordell and Liam were abducted. So, how much is the aftermath of their abduction going to play into the rest of the seasons, and kind of what was it like exploring that sort of trauma for your characters?
You want to start? Me too?
Yes. Reject to the back row.
Take off another layer of clothing. It's holding down your vocalization.
Hi. All right. First of all, yes. Well, so here's the thing. Walker, to me, has been so good at portraying grief, how people deal with grief, especially Cordell's storyline with Emily, is so realistic and wholesome. And as an actor, the pursuit of truth is so interesting to me. But also as a viewer of Walker, it's been wonderful to see these topics brought up in a beautiful and inclusive way. And so the PTSD storyline really spoke to me just as a human being and going through my own stuff in my own life, grief and processing traumas and stuff like that. So hats off to our writers for putting that forward for people to see. Yeah, and also, these are really heavy things on set. So it's wonderful to have this guy also in between scenes keep it light and fun and fart. And to keep it so light and fun and beautiful. And you guys all know, Jared through Supernatural and through these conventions, but my experience with Jared has been just so wonderful and beautiful. And he really is like this in real life all the time. There's a constant spectrum of goofball behavior and incredibly just smart ways of dealing with things that are very hard to talk about and deal with. So huge reverence for him and the show. And truly a family environment. So yeah, and moving forward, we do deal with, it does impact the storylines, but in a way that feels very truthful and honest.
Thank you, Keegan. Amen. Yeah, that's been a big part. And also, there was, going back to, I'll start from the top. Casting Liam Walker, Keegan Allen. We had gone into reading for roles, and they wanted to read for these roles and see who was local to Austin, who was based in New York. And so we had auditions, because it was in the Zoom days. It was all during the pandemic. And so we would get tapes in from Atlanta, from New Mexico, from New York, from Australia, from, new perfect Texas accent and whatnot. And we must have watched 100, I'm not kidding. And they're 5-10 minutes apiece. So luckily I was home and I had the excuse to go like, Jen, I'd love to help you watch the kids, but and they all went through, and I don't remember at the time if we had worries you weren't available or what, but we all were like, well, Keegan's obviously number one. Like, is he available? Is he willing? He's based in California, it says. What's going on? And so it became very obvious that he was the right character. And from episode 1, and a lot of new shows, and this is the same for Supernatural, the same for Gilmore Girls, you kind of, you know someone's the right person, and you hope you're the right person as well. And then gradually, your strengths, there are no weaknesses, but certain strengths really came up. And the way Keegan embodies kind of that emotional availability with strength, and that was one of the initial idea of the show, of our version of Walker. It's about somebody who can be super, super strong when they need to be, but also be emotionally available and kind. Like, they lead with kindness. If you cross them or their family, I was always saying, like, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Hugh Jackman. Like, that's literally, I was like, I want Cordell Walker to be, like, goofy, like, here's Hugh Jackman, he's all built, then he's singing and dancing. here's The Rock, he's huge, and he's singing and dancing. It's like, you're not gonna mess with them, you're not gonna make fun of their dancing because they can throw you through the wall. And so we found that with all these characters, like an emotional availability, obviously already on camera from Emily and from Bonham and from Abilene and from Liam and all the rest of the characters. We obviously haven't seen Jake yet, but we'll go to that as well. But so it became obvious that Keegan was the one, and we knew this season, we were like, hey, I think we're all in a place to approach this. And our audience now knows us enough to trust us with these you don't want to lead with a pilot with a torture sequence and grief. It's like, I don't want to watch this shit. Like, I'm gonna cry on that. Like, but by 30
He doesn't know us, does he?
Fine. I do too. It's the forehead. But thank you. But we knew 39 episodes in that we could be like, hey, our audience who's with us trusts us enough to approach this. And so that's kind of why we started this season as such, and it does continue on. It's messy. Like the truth is messy. Life is messy, and Cordell's a caring parent and a grief-stricken widow, and he tries to do the right thing, and he makes mistakes. And for those of us who've seen last Thursday's episode, good people do bad things. Good people make mistakes. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about Cordell. I don't make mistakes. That was too honest. But yeah, thank you.
Hey, Jake.
Oh, hi. Thank you.
So now we know you weren't filming in Atlanta.
Nice
I
try.
cannot believe you guys recognize the couches. First of all, popping up in the background of a Keegan video didn't help.
It was the side of your face.
Dude, these guys don't miss a thing. And Jared's like, just tell him that you're shadowing the director, which I also am. And I was like, I don't know, bro. Like, they're not gonna buy it. So I posted this picture, and everyone recognized the couch. And so then to muddy the waters, I changed the geolocation to Atlanta.
You can do that?
Yeah. But what was great about that, I didn't even know that Misha Collins was filming in Atlanta. So it just started muddying the waters enough where everyone started infighting. Like, Misha's in Atlanta, guys. Just pit everyone against each other, and I walked away. Like, just dropped the bomb and walked away. But they knew. I think everyone knew. Yeah, I did. I crop dusted the fan base. No, but yeah, so here I am, officially on Walker. I'm pretty sure I yelled Winchester when I walked on stage, which I will never forgive myself for. Ever. My brain was just broken from this long weekend.
I understand. So, thank you, Jake. So his character gets introduced this season, obviously. On Thursday, you'll see his smiling face on your screens. And so we had a character idea to introduce in season 3, and he fit it perfectly. I mean, he's a wonderful actor. He would fit anything perfectly, but this was like, man, Jake Abel. And so he and I kind of
She has clothing with my name on it, so it's a thing.
So the character's named Jake Abel.
We just leaned in.
But so, he lives with his family in Austin as well. And so I reached out to him, going like, hey dude, I'll speak for myself.
Which meant I was cheap, because I was just down the road. Didn't have to fly me in, put me up, yeah.
I'll say this, I've wanted to work with him again for the last, 10 years, and then we got to shoot Brave Lucky together.
Yes, wonderful. Snubbed at the award season, but,
There were a few other funny videos as well, which may or may not be potable for human consumption. But that's up to him. But so I reached out and was like, hey dude, I know he's a big, he's a filmmaker at heart, if I may say so myself. The way he dissects a scene, a character, and a storyline is very much from filmmaking. And he's been that way, honest to God, I feel like since season 6 or whatever. Like seeing him come in when it was Jensen and me doing our thing, he'd come in and be like, well, what if I'm doing this? We're like, that makes perfect sense. Like, badass. We have somebody who's here and they're thinking from the top down as well as from the bottom up, like from the character making sense for the story.
Yeah, but top and the bottom, is that what you're saying?
Top to bottom.
That's what I'm hearing.
He's definitely a bottom, you know what I mean? You went there.
That's my fault.
just low-hanging
I regret nothing.
And so, yeah, low-hanging fruit. That's the top, I guess. And so, reached out and chatted with him. I was like, hey, I don't know if you're available, if you're interested, but I'd love for you to sometime come like direct an episode of Walker. And I'd love for you to shadow, and we had talked about shadowing and working together on this and that. And it just so happened there was a perfect character introduced this year, and he's also been shadowing. So that was the good news is that it was true. He was shadowing, you know. So like literally, he's shadowing Steve Robin. He can shadow whoever he wants, and we're hoping to get him in a direct ASAP. But once he agreed, it was a no-brainer. It was just game set match. So
I was inside of Home Depot when I said yes. Were you really? Yeah. You called me. I was in Home Depot. Like, yeah. So what's the character? That sounds great. Oh, they have it. Hold on a second. Yeah. So when do we start? Which felt super homey.
It's amazing.
Like,
where are your 3/4 nut bolts?
Jared, hold on. Jared, hold on. Yeah, where are the light bulbs? Thank you. What were you saying? No, but it just felt like because I just moved to Austin, I'd only been there 4 months at that time, and it just felt so right because it was like it felt like I'm starting a new home in a new city, and here was family calling me saying, hey, do you want to come drive down the street and hang out again? And sometimes in life you take these big risks and you don't know if they're the right move, but you feel the pull, so you pull the trigger, and it was just like getting that phone call was just that thing of like this was right. This was right, like uplifting my life and my family, moving to this place so we could have like a different lifestyle for a while was just like this immediate feedback of like, good call. Because you mentioned the crew and the cast of this show. I think Mitch, you said that it's unlike anything I've ever worked on before, and that's coming from Supernatural, which also had an incredible cast and crew. Everyone's so professional and like they work so quick, and I couldn't be happier. So thank you.
So Walker's known for its incredible twists and its writing. So for all of you, what's been a favorite plot line or twist of yours from the series?
There have been several. I think this year's twist is my favorite because it goes back even before what we saw in season 1. I think season 1 was awesome because while we were figuring out what's going on with Emily and Walker's time undercover, and we're betrayed by a friend. Ultimately, I hope I'm not ruining it if you haven't seen season 1 yet. But that whole twist and turn, going from the character Callie in the poker game to figuring out what really happened, was pretty awesome and pretty fun to play. The big standoff with the Walker family and with Stan Morrison at the end was, you didn't have to act. You just kind of had to say the lines and feel them. And that was a lot of fun. And I loved all the Northside Nation bit that year. And then season 2 with Mr. Serrano and Bruce Serrano was also a lot of fun. But I think season 3, where we're going with it, is my favorite. Yeah. And sometimes it takes a while. I mean, for those who've seen Supernatural, we had bugs.
I like bugs.
You have some stuff that goes well.
Spiders.
You have Yellow Eye Demon, and then you have bugs. We'll get better season 2, and then you have the Roadhouse, part of the works, but we'll get better season 3. And so we're really figuring out what we can do, what we do well, what y'all respond to, and y'all's comments and questions online are seen. And when they can be listened to and should be heard, they are. And so we're figuring out where our strengths are.
So Walker has a very dedicated fan base who all love the show. What has the fan response been like for all of you?
Here,
just here or in general?
It's been wonderful. You know, I'll start, I suppose, because I just came from a pretty long-running genre show, which, you know, you can kind of do anything, and our confines on the Walker are a bit more strict. You know, I can't die and come back unless the flashbacks and so on and so forth. She can die and come back because she's Jen. And she went, yeah, amen to that. That's been fun. It's you know what's really funny is that for 15 years of Supernatural, a lot of times when I was talking to people about what I did, if they weren't familiar with it, they'd be like, oh, well, you know, I got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, maybe we'll watch it. I'd be like, nah. Like, wait 10 years. But with Walker, I say to anybody, like, anybody can watch the show. And so it spreads a wider net. And so we're meeting people who are like, yeah, I've never seen Supernatural, I've never seen Star Trek or Star Wars or Harry Potter, but I really dig this. And I have kids and I'm dealing with this, and it's kind of fun to watch the way y'all play things out. And so I've really enjoyed making a family show. Not that Supernatural wasn't about a family and their found family, but this isn't going to give your children nightmares. though it did give our kid nightmares. So the night of the pilot, aired, our son Shep, who was 6 at the time, we're all sitting there, we're watching it, and it's this.
We keep looking back.
We keep looking back.
Like checking on the kid.
All of a sudden he's
And
gone.
he's like white, like just white. And he's just looking at me, looking at the TV, and his eyes are like, we can sort of, he's our empath. He's just such a sweet little soul. And he's watching the TV, and then all of a sudden we look back and he's gone. And we're like, what happened to Shep? We thought he was gonna wait.
Maybe he's in the bathroom.
Maybe he's in the bathroom. We couldn't find him anywhere, and he was at the farthest place that he could get to outside in the yard, behind a tree. He's gonna kill me if he ever sees this. Crying, and he goes, "Why do you always have to die?" And I said, "I don't know how to talk to your dad."
And then he goes, if dad's the boss, why did he kill you? I was like, hey buddy, I didn't write it. Like, I didn't say no, but I didn't write it. So other than if your family member is being killed on Walker, it's safe for all families.
So we have time for one more question. What can fans look forward to for the rest of season 3? What are we gonna see?
We're gonna start with Jake in 4 days.
I can't talk about anything. I've got nothing to talk about.
We see relationships build, relationships questioned, feelings, a little bit more grief, though not tortured in a cell, which by the way did beat the shit out of us. Like that, there was no soft spot in there. Like it wasn't fake plastic bars meant to look like steel. It was steel, and because I was in running shorts, there were no knee pads or anything. I got banged up. I would come home from work and be like, Jen's like, you all right? I'm like, huh? Limping around. But we see friendships forged. We see decisions questioned. And I think we see a lot of what all humans go through, which is like, I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to trust my instinct, but I need to question that instinct and make sure I'm not missing anything.
Would you say the twists are like 360s?
Oh, we're gonna see a lot of 360s. I don't know if they know. No.
Just 360 twists. Just twists. They're just twists.
So, so there's something. This started with Ackles and me in Supernatural, because sometimes we would have like a 16-hour day, and so we'd go to work at like noon. It would be 3 a.m. and we'd both just be like waiting for them to knock on our trailer door to say go to work. And so the only way we would kind of make each other stay awake without just chugging coffee would be like, hey, don't want a double take. You'd be like, what? Don't want a double take. Seriously? Yeah. And so the challenge to each other was during the scene to do like a double take, and then it turned into 360. And so now we have like a thing on set where, and we shoot handheld, so the cameras, you know, it's a little messier. It's, you know, there are more shadows on faces and this and that. So there's a thing where you'll walk in and you kind of do this, and instead of just going back like this, if the camera's over there, you'll walk in and be like, oh, I forgot my water. And so, and then they call cut, and they're like, you did a 360. Like,
Jared puts a 360 into every episode.
sometimes they get cut because the editors are like, God damn it. Like, and I'm like, put it back in, please. We're running long. But there will be plenty of 360s. Yeah.
I didn't know this was a thing, and then you'll see Thursday, it should stay in, I've got a 360. And I didn't know it was a thing.
Swig every time you see a 360.
Yeah.
It's a new drinking game. Yeah.
That's the Walker drinking game. Take a shot every time you see a 360.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. So let's give a hand.
Thank you all.
For Jared,